Yeah, so I'm Kevin Ringelman. I'm the Ducks Unlimited Professor of Wetlands and Waterfowl Conservation at LSU. And so we're out here today at Sherburne Wildlife Management Area. We're going to be checking some wood duck and whistling duck boxes. Hopefully we'll have a few nests. We might even have a few ducklings.
Hi, my name is Starla Phelps, and I am the PhD student currently on this project, along with Dylan Backner, who's not here. He's also the other PhD student who worked on this wood duck, whistling duck project.
And I'm a previous undergrad at LSU and a previous student of Dr. Ringelman's. Right now I'm working on my field seasons and hopefully gain enough experience for a master's program in the future and have my own project like this.
So this is a long-term monitoring effort. Project's been going on about 3 years now to study nesting ecology of wood ducks and whistling ducks and the interaction between them. Whistling ducks are rapidly expanding species throughout the southeastern United States, so we just don't really know that much about them. And so that's why I brought on Starla to specifically focus on whistling ducks. She worked on them as an undergrad and is probably one of the world's experts, or certainly will be by the time this PhD is over. So.
Hope so. So to get the day started, we're going to look at the first box, which is right down the road. That's always the first box that we check. It has a whistling duck nest in it, so hopefully we'll catch a whistling duck off of it.
Yep.
So, first black-bellied whistling duck of the day.
So for several years now, we've been marking whistling duck ducklings with a passive integrated transponder tag, just a microchip like you would put in the back of your dog to identify it as a unique individual at the vet. So this bird potentially has one of those if it was marked as a duckling and was returned. So the first thing we'll do is check for that.
Yep. So this is a pit tag scanner, and what it does is it powers the little microchip that's inside, and it's able to transfer a signal of like a unique code to this so that we can read it. And that allows us to know if this was a duckling in a previous year that has returned that we tagged that previous year. What I'll do is all of our tags, we implant them on the upper right, kind of between the shoulder blade, so about here. But things move weird inside of the body. So like that pit tag can actually migrate down or under the wing. So we have to make sure to scan like the entirety of the bird. Same as like your dog's microchip, that's all we're putting inside of them. It's just a little tag with a unique code. And I'll show a tag here in a little bit.
Yeah. So you just like turn on the scanner.
Yep, go ahead and lift the wing.
Yeah.
So this is actually going to be a new bird for us. We've never caught this bird yet. And we'll go ahead and give this one its own pit tag. We'll put a band on it. We'll put a geolocator on the other leg, and we'll go ahead and take blood for genetic samples. And this bird will pretty much be good to go. We'll also check to make sure it's a male or female, a second year or after second year bird. And we'll go ahead and get her tarsus measurement, which is kind of like on us would be between like the knee and the ankle. And that's just like a standard way to get like to measure size differences between birds. We'll also get a weight as well.
Yeah.
And so the reason you have to sex it to determine whether it's male or female is whistling ducks are unique among North American waterfowl, or among North American ducks, in that both sexes incubate. And so you could potentially capture either a male or a female on the nest.
Typically what I always do is like you always open it up, and the way that we put on the bands here is we put it with the numbers facing to where we can read them when we're holding the bird. So typically how I band is I just always close it up. And then, but then there's still a gap, so then you kind of just like work your way on both sides, kind of closing that gap a little bit.
The reason you don't want to have a gap is it can snag on vegetation or things like that.
Yeah, so you want to make sure, because then it can like irritate the skin, it can snag on different things. And then also, like, sometimes you see how, like, this isn't, like, even right here. It has, like, a little lip. You want that to be even as well. So you kind of just go in at, like, an angle. Kind of try to even it out a little bit. Because you don't want that to, like, catch on their skin or anything.
Yeah, so this is one of those microchips that pit tag, and so this will go just inside, underneath the skin, on the back of the whistling duck, and it's read by this little reader. So it's, this pit tag, when read with a reader, will spit back a unique identifier that will identify this bird as an individual.
Yeah, and essentially how it goes is you hit scan, start scanning, and then you just go over it, and then it'll pop up with a code. And then that's how we read it.
Sure. So these pit tags we've been putting in wood ducks and whistling ducks for the last 3 years. And the purpose of that is twofold. So one, the traditional method of marking ducklings is to put a little silver tag in the webbing of their feet. And we have some sense that those tags may be more easily lost or may cause increased predation from things like fish, where it just looks like a giant fishing lure. And so we can, by implanting pit tags in half of the birds that we mark, we can study differential survival between web tags and pit tags. The second reason that we're putting pit tags in is because of those black loops that are around the holes of the boxes. So those are passive pit tag readers. So every time a whistling duck or a wood duck with a pit tag goes in or out of the box, that tag is read by these readers. And so we can tell where birds are visiting boxes that are their own or not their own. And we'll also have the ability to detect birds that we never capture on the nest. So some of Katie Miranda, one of my undergrad's research, documented that up to 40% of the birds that actually come back and visit our sites are never actually captured on the nest. And so without these pit tags to detect them, we would never have that information.
So with this scanner, all you gotta do is hit the scan button, and then you just run it along the body. It'll make a noise, and then you have the pit tag number. So you see this like little notch right here in the leg. So we go from this notch to the end, and you literally just do like this. And then you read it. And so this one would be about 59.1. And so that's like the length of the tarsus. And it varies by like species. So like whistling ducks, they have like really long legs, whereas wood ducks do not have long legs. So like there's usually like in the 50s, and then whistling ducks are usually in the 50s, and wood ducks are usually like in the
around like 30s.
In the 30s. So it just shows how different like their leg size is.
So these are geolocators. These are effectively clocks that sense light. Mm-hmm. And so they record the amount of daylight over the course of a year. And so just like ancient mariners, you can use the duration of daylight to calculate latitude, so more daylight at higher latitude, and the midpoint between dawn and dusk will give you approximate longitude. And so they're accurate to the tune of a couple hundred kilometers, which is not super useful for studying fine scale movements, but it'll tell us whether these guys go to New Orleans for the winter or Cuba or Panama, right? We just don't know.
Yeah, and it also, like, additionally with these, they so whenever the bird is incubating, it becomes dark throughout the day when it's supposed to have light. So you can tell, like, you have these dark cycles during the day whenever you're supposed to have light. And so it gives you an indication that these birds are incubating. And so it can give us ideas of when they're nesting not in our boxes. So if we didn't see the attempt, we'll at least have an idea of when they were incubating, how long they were incubating.
So these units must be recaptured to download the data, and so that's why we're hopeful to work on whistling ducks, because in previous years about a third of the birds that we've caught in boxes have been returns from the previous year. And so our goal is to put out, how many? 150?
150.
150, and the expectation is we'll get about 50 of them back in the subsequent year to download the data.
So essentially what we do with these is we just kind of like open them up a little bit and just slip them on the leg. Yep, just like that. So it's a super easy attempt.
And the orientation of the band also matters. So ours are like the way the bird would be standing, the words are up the correct way, and the prongs are towards the belly side of the bird, not the foot.
So prongs always up.
So you want the light logger to actually detect light.
Yeah. And so what we do is we also just add like a little, just a smidge of glue to prevent it from coming off the bird's leg.
I'll just hold that until it seals. So that should be about good.
So we've deployed.
And that's the unit.
So it's always funny to watch them fly off because they just kick their legs after you put like a geo and a band on them there, because they don't know what's on their legs, so they just kick while flying.
Really figure it out.
Yeah, it's so cute. I think that's my favorite thing about research is like all the little things you find joy in. It's just like you never know what you're going to see each day. And there's always something new and fun.
Yeah.
So.
Like not expecting to catch your bird in the box.
Yeah.
The eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9, 16, 4, 10, 15.
All eggs are here.
Okay. Here you go.
So as the embryo develops, the air sac at the round part of the egg gets larger. The embryo gets more opaque as the ducklings develop. And you can age it to an accuracy of basically a day if you know what you're looking at.
Yeah, so this is probably about a day 22, I would think. Does the 22 line up roughly with what we had?
Yeah, that would be exactly on schedule.
Okay, cool.
So a day 22 egg is pretty close to hatching. The air sac is quite large, and you can almost see part of the egg tooth developing.
So this is just kind of the first box that we always check when we come to South Farm. And then what we do now is we just kind of keep on doing what we just did. We just essentially just check every single box weekly, and then if we know one's about to hatch, then we'll check it. Usually we check it like the day before it's supposed to hatch, but we always definitely check it on the hatch day. Typically the day before and hatch day, but yeah, so that's kind of, we're just wrapping up this one to go to the next one.
Also no membrane, so this box didn't hatch. This
No,
was depredated.
Literally this one last time was at 8 days a week ago.
And all the eggs are gone?
All the eggs are gone, so it must have been a snake.
Yeah, so this box, this is one of the issues we run into when we're out here is we'll get to a box and either eggs will be full of holes and depredated from woodpeckers, or eggs will be completely missing, and that's usually a telltale sign that a snake got in there, gulped them all down and left the box. And this duck went ahead and abandoned this nest because there's now nothing to care for.
And snake seems especially likely because it's got overhead covers, so you can imagine a rat snake climbing up on this tree and just dropping down onto these boxes.
Yep.
And so we labeled this one as a total depredation abandoned.
Yep. And that bird's probably going to go on being a little bit early to mid-season for nesting, is going to go off and go ahead and probably try and restart another nest and get it done before the season ends. That sucks because we didn't catch the second one off of this box yet. So.
We've been having...
I'm sure snake.
Oh,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's what
this branch right there is
Right.
definitely...
Yeah, enough.
So essentially we just fill this out. It's literally depredated. And then that's it. So essentially this box we've tried to catch this bird multiple times now, and we just have not been able to because every time we get even close to the box, the whistling duck will stick its head out, see us, and then flush. So this is our probably third attempt at sneaking up on this box, and it looks like it may be our most successful attempt as of now.
So her head's gonna be about here. You see her?
Yeah, this one's been on since the 31st, so that's about 2 weeks ago.
When you release a bird, you want to make sure that obviously it's open and they're not going to hit anything, but if you can throw them into the wind, it helps their wings catch the air and are able to fly. If they're going with it, sometimes they struggle to take off once you release them. There she goes.
So now we can just load everything back up and check on this.
And then 5 is non-viable. There's a new egg. Which is?
Egg 25. This nest had actually been, this is the 3rd time it's been partially depredated. So we just write DP. So if an egg goes missing, we just write DP for depredated. So we had one go missing on this week, one go missing last week, and then one go missing this week.
Which is just wild.
Yeah.
Oh, the football.
The football is literally the hardest thing to remember.
Yeah, you want to make sure you don't forget it, because then mom can't get back on her nest, and if it's left long enough, there's a chance that we could cause a premature abandonment of the nest. So don't forget this.
Yeah, so we're always like double checking each other, like, did you grab the football? Did you grab the football?
The highest tech of field equipment.
Yeah.
So here at Sherburne WMA, the South Farm unit, this is like mostly used for duck recruitment and management. So right here is actually a moist soil unit, and in the off season it's drained down real low so that the plants can grow up. And these are seed bearing plants that ducks like to feed on. And what they'll do is they let it go down, they'll grow plants up, then right before the season they'll flood the area and it'll put seeds into the water and deposit them. And that way when the ducks come in during the hunting season, there's plenty of food and it's a stop on their journey. So that's mostly what this is for. Also in the off season they use this for crawfishing for locals, and I believe there's also alligator tags that are brought out here.
Like, they pinch so much more than any other duck.
That bill.
Alright, swimming with Geo.
Woohoo! Maybe we ran out of geos that day.
Yeah,
there
no,
was
I
a
think-
day that we ran out of geos.
Yeah, that was this day.
Okay.
This one was not a recapture.
So she's all worked up. She just needs a geo.
Yeah, but we literally put this band on 2 weeks ago, and you see how discolored it is?
Yeah, that was a shiny silver band.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
So.
Yeah, so this one needs a geo.
Okay.
So we'll just go add a geo to her, and then we'll work with the nest. So essentially, another student in another lab, PhD student, we've been actually swabbing for avian coronavirus. So what we do is we take a cloaca swab and then a throat swab. And then typically, we usually do that, but this dog has already been swabbed for that, so we don't have to.
Yep.
Yeah, so waterfowl, like loads of other animals, have a series of coronaviruses, and so as you might imagine, there's a lot of interest in monitoring the spread and type of coronaviruses among wildlife.
And what she really wants to look at too is also like, does it affect nesting success? So we're going to link if the duck has it to their nesting success to see if it has an effect.
And it's also possible that it can be transmitted through the egg from mother to offspring, and so that's another thing, either through the egg itself or through infection post-hatch.
Yep.
And so that's also of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the graduate students and the techs are out here all day, every day from February into August, and so my job as a professor is mostly writing grants and manuscripts. So this is entirely work for them, and this is entirely playtime for me because I only get out a few days a year. So
yeah, well,
this is a treat.
You say it's work, but we kind of enjoy it every day. So
Yeah.
it's like a
well,
job.
wait until Friday or Saturday when the heat index is
Yeah, that one's gonna be
114.
rough. That is gonna be rough. Alright, now we just gotta go back and check on the eggs.
So this box has been a pretty unique case this season. It's hatched out a couple of nests. It has a wood duck in it right now that we're about to go catch, but at the beginning of the season, an alligator nest hatched nearby, and the babies have taken refuge at the foot of the box. So they've been hanging out here all year, and it's been nerve-wracking but fun to go up to this box.
Like there's like a pole, like a, not a pole, but like a culvert, yeah. That has like the mama gator in it one day. It was literally just chilling there. Oh, well, there she goes. Oh well, she's already been caught, so we have
more wood ducks to catch at North Farm. And this is the first time I don't see baby alligators. I'm a liar.
Yeah, it's kind of trippy because like I'll just be standing here, like one of us will be up on the ladder, and then we're just like, who's ever like on the ground is just like staring at the gator, like listening for numbers.
So if you want to look in this box, you'll be able to tell the difference between the wood duck and the whistling duck nest. The key telltale, outside of looking at the difference between eggs, is that wood ducks cover their nest while whistling ducks don't cover them. So once you look in this box, there'll be a bunch of down on top of the eggs, and that's to continue incubation when mom leaves, and then also it helps with predators looking in the boxes and maybe being discouraged not seeing eggs. But yeah, you can go ahead and take a look. So we also like to cover the nest back with the down because we've prematurely flushed the mom off of the nest. And when you do that, she doesn't have time to cover her eggs up before she leaves. So every time we leave a wood duck nest, the eggs get recovered by us so that they continue their incubation throughout the day until she gets back.
Yeah, and we also like cover it with wood shavings. So the Sherburne crew each summer, or like beginning of the nesting season, what they do is they go through all the boxes, add new wood shavings, take out the old wood shavings. That way the ducks have fresh material to add to their down to cover the eggs. And also to have cushion, that way the eggs aren't just sitting on the bottom of the box.
And not breaking.
Yeah. So it helps us, helps them.
Yeah.
Win-win situation. All for witching.
And the fact that she landed so close means that...
Not yet, but they're probably close.
Yeah, so a lot of times when we walk up to a nest that we think is going to hatch soon, the mom, when she flushes, will usually drop right into the water, only about 20 yards away from the box. And that's usually like an indicator that she's become bonded with the nest and that those eggs are either about to hatch or have already hatched. So usually when we see that, we get excited because there's a pretty good chance that we're going to have some ducklings to work up. She didn't have any ducklings today. Probably tomorrow or the next day they'll go ahead and hatch, but since they're so close, she dropped right in the water just as usual.
9 is pipped.
Ooh, yay.
So by pipped, we mean right here between my thumbs, there's the eggshell's just starting to break. And so the duckling, whose head is down like this, is pushing the egg tooth against the edge of the egg. And when it completes the hatch, it'll cut a circle all around the round part of the egg and push this cap off, which is why we put the numbers on the caps, because the caps will stay intact and then we can know which eggs hatched. And the duckling will come out of the shell. So 9 is pipped. So most ducks will hatch sometime sort of mid-morning to midday, and then they typically remain in the nest for less than 24 hours. And so these will probably continue hatching out today, and there'll be ducklings in the box tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But almost all ducks leave either their nest or the nest box in the morning, usually between sunrise and 10 a.m. So you'll be out here tomorrow.
Yep.
Catch your ducklings.
Essentially, we're done looking at boxes here. We've checked most of our boxes at this site. The ones that we didn't check we'll come back for probably Thursday, but we checked all the ones that have nests currently. And what we're about to do is we're about to go to our other site, in which we have 2 nests at North Farm, and both of them are mixed clutches with a wood duck incubating the nest. So we're hopefully going to have some wood duck and whistling duck ducklings.
These are really hard just because the duck has stained them.
Yeah, typically.
So wood duck, whistling duck.
So you see how like this one has like this more like tan complexion? That's going to be a wood duck egg. And this one, how it has like more like white, almost like what you think of like a store chicken egg to be like, the vibrant white. That's going to be an example of a whistling duck egg. And whistling duck eggs are also almost like, not porous per se, but they have like little, how would you describe like the feel to them? Like they're
divots
super,
or dimples. They're textured.
They're textured.
They're a little bit of textured, and they're also just a little bit pointier at the end. But there's a ton of individual variations. So you'll see some wood duck eggs that are almost pink, some that are pretty white. So color is not a great way, but candling them and being able to see the splotchiness inside the egg is pretty key.
Yeah, that's
And
typically how we do it.
And that was not known until a couple years ago when we started studying these things. So.
Yeah.
We're back out here today. Today is hopefully duckling day. So yesterday we just checked a bunch of boxes and captured some adults, but today hopefully we'll have some ducklings, and we're actually checking our first box right now. It's a whistling duck box, and let's see.
She doesn't want to go.
Show 'em a little bit. What was that? Any ducklings?
Nope. Bunch of piptails.
So you can see more today. You see this like cracking? This is what we call pipping. And essentially this is just when the duckling is tapping with the egg tooth on the egg. So this one is really cool because you can see, oops, sorry, the tip of the bill. And you can see it's kind of like moving a little bit and working its way. It's kind of a slow moving one, but I don't know if you can get audio that close, but you can hear it making noise right now.
No.
We missed it?
That is a snake in the box.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. Give me my snake hook.
This is our snake hook. We'll tie it in. Yep, you can see the eggs in the belly.
It's like he has at least 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, there's still a pile of eggs in the bottom of the box. She might come back for them, but I doubt it. Yeah. This is one of the things we get to deal with when working with ducks. Everything likes to eat a duck, including snakes.
Yeah.
Open. I think that's a is number 10 a whistling duck egg?
Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty cute.
I'll listen to it.
What are you doing? It's so good. I was like, oh, she might actually go without having a snake problem.
It's like just tapping along if you want to listen.
I got a couple peeps.
Oh, lucky.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I had a feeling.
we got some snake footage in any case.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it's cool to show like what predators that we do deal with. So no ducklings today, but they should be hatched tomorrow. And so what we'll do is we'll record again tomorrow and get you some footage of some ducklings.
You're ready to start.
So we are at box 3A, the one that had a snake in it on day 2. Today is day 3, and now we have wood duck ducklings. So what we do with them, we work them up the exact same way, but the difference between wood duck ducklings and black-bellied whistling duck ducklings is that we actually web tag and pit tag the wood duck ducklings. So half of them get a web tag and half of them get a pit tag. And so pretty much it's the same steps. So what you do typically is you take their right leg, and then you have, and on the inner webbing, you just put this in. And then what you do is then you clamp it down, and then you have a web tag. And so this is one thing that hunters typically see sometimes with wood ducks. And we always check for them whenever we catch an adult to see if it's a recapture.
So something interesting about this box, this is nest 3A, same one that we had that snake in, but it actually ended up being a mixed clutch, which happens when you have one duck parasitize another duck nest and lay its egg. So we actually have two different species being hatched out of one nest. The way you can tell the difference is in the patterns. There's a bar that goes through the eye on the wood duck duckling, whereas there's no bar going through the eye on the whistling duck. If you notice, their bills are much different. The whistling duck has a much larger bill. And then also the patterns on the back. The wood duck in this hand has no spots, whereas the whistling duck in this hand has a bunch of these yellow spots all along the back. So, cool. So today's day 3 and we finally have ducklings in this box. We went ahead and got them out. We used these two 5-gallon buckets to go ahead and remove the ducklings and the eggs that are left over, and then this helps with keeping them sorted while we process them. We're gonna go through the eggs first and check for if an egg is non-viable, which means the egg died before it could hatch, or if the egg is unhatched, which means that that egg was probably a parasitic egg and it was laid a couple of days after incubation, and then that means that it's not going to be on time with the other ducklings because it's going to hatch a couple of days later. Once we do that, we'll take a duckling out. I'll go ahead and grab one, and first things first is it will get a weight. So this duckling will be, let it load here, put it in our cup. So 25.7, we would mark that on the data sheet. Then we would get its tarsus measurement. So I like to hold the duck sideways, and between my pointer finger and thumb, hold the leg. We'll then come into this notch right here and go to the knee. So I'll press this in, come over with my caliper, and very lightly apply pressure until I get a number. And this would be 19.9 on the tarsus. After that, we then move to the tagging process, which involves taking one of our pit tags that we showed y'all on day 1 for the adult duck, and same thing for these birds. Right on top of the right, kind of like where your shoulder blade would be, on the edge of the wing, between the wing and the spine, we'll insert a tag, and that'll give this duckling its unique ID, so that in the following years, if we catch this bird again, we will know when it was hatched, where it was hatched, and that'll help us with our recruitment calculations. Once the bird gets a pit tag, we then take a small needle and we just poke the vein here on the inner leg, and then we'll take a small blood sample, just a drop, it's not very much, and we store that later so that we could do genetics tests in the future if we want to, and that helps us determine lineage and a lot of other stuff. And then once we're finished, we're gonna go ahead and show y'all us putting them back in the box, close it up, and then probably later this day, these birds are gonna flush and go with their mama.
So here we have a freshly hatched duckling. So in comparison to the other ones, they're very fluffy, but this one was just a little bit behind the others, and you can see it makes that ring around the top where the cap just pops off. And so this one is just what they look like when they're freshly hatched versus being hatched for a few hours. So this one's a little bit more sluggish. It'll take it a few hours to really get going, but eventually it'll be fluffy and just movement, just like all these other ones that are jumping in the buckets right now. So we just wanted to thank everyone for watching the video, and we want to have a special thanks for Campus Waterfowl for coming out and recording what we love to do and just getting to share it with the world. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and to see more content like this. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.